this, but maybe they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, we're going to get started. So, hello and welcome to Naughty Dog Live and Unleashed, Game Design with Dogs. It's really awesome for all of us to come out here from California to the inaugural PAX East.
PAX East!
Woo! We're really proud to actually be part of this, so it's awesome.
Really, really proud.
Yeah, that's why I'm from Boston, so I'm super stoked.
So, who here doesn't know who Naughty Dog is or what they do? Awesome, I can say. All right, so, my parents know, who are sitting up front, they know where I work, but they may not necessarily know what I do. So, we're a video game development studio based in Santa Monica. We're about 120 people, and we created the multi-million-selling Crash Bandicoot and Jack and Daxter franchises. And more recently, we released a couple games that you may have heard of. Uncharted Drake's Fortune in 2007, and then just late last year, we released Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, which may have picked up an award here or there. Two, yeah. So to kick things off, we'll tell you who we are, we'll do introductions, and we'll get right to it. I'm Arnie Meyer, I'm the community strategist. I do basically marketing, PR, community, social media at the studio. If you come to our website, I write the blog, and I'm on the message board, like the PlayStation.com forums, and NeoGAF. Anybody here from NeoGAF?
Yeah!
Right. Shout out.
Yeah.
So I'll just keep going.
I'm Jacob Minkoff. I'm a game designer at Naughty Dog.
Jacob did the train. I'm Justin Richmond. I was the lead multiplayer designer on Uncharted 2, and I'm now a game director at Naughty Dog.
And that's who you go to if you want one or four back.
Thanks, Arnie.
And my name is Richard Lamarchand. I've been at Naughty Dog since middle of 2004. I joined up just to help finish up Jak 3. I was the lead game designer on Uncharted Drake's Fortune and the co-lead game designer of Uncharted 2. So thanks again for coming, guys.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do in this panel is sort of give you a glimpse as to how Naughty Dog likes to design our games. And so that we're going to take you through the whole process of how we actually sit down and design a level. So we're going to go through the way that we come up with an idea for a level, into the game macro, which is sort of the generalized goal for the level. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how, in general, our levels are designed by a game designer who comes up with a pitch, the cool ideas for the level. But at Naughty Dog, sort of everybody's a game designer, so this doesn't just have to be a designer. An artist could come up with something crazy, or a programmer, or anybody. The HR manager.
So it means lots of talking and sharing of ideas.
Exactly. So it's so whoever has the a cool idea will come and pitch it to the game designers, or the game designers themselves will pitch it to the rest of the staff. And we're really, really collaborative and talking about how we, everything we do, we sort of bounce off each other, and going back and forth with the programmers, the artists, and the designers, making sure that sort of everybody has buy-off on the stuff before we start working at it. And then the way we usually start is we'll go what we call iterative block mesh, which means we'll start off in Maya with just some gray boxes, which we'll show you a little later on. And we start with that, and then sort of our whole idea basically behind our design is just do stuff. Let's just get stuff into the game and try it. So we start with very simple block mesh and then sort of build up from there.
And you kind of saw it there. I don't know if you were looking at the screen and back it up. And this is kind of how it happens. We start off with a simple block mesh, and then slowly some concept art starts to fade in.
It's magic, just like that.
Just like that. Because we have a button that we press.
Yes.
And then eventually it gets handed off to the artists, and the artists are very iterative also, and they'll kind of do successive passes, adding in more and more detail, and involving more and more people in the process, and eventually the texture artists come in
so
and make
here's
it
a final shot of the
amazing.
take from Uncharted 2. So what we've decided as a goal for this sort of presentation is to show you what it would be like for us to design a new chapter from the first game, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. So basically what we were saying is At the end of Chapter 3, A Surprising Find in Uncharted Drake's Fortune, Drake and Elena get on a Jeep, and then all of a sudden they're on Sully's plane going towards the island at the start of Chapter 4, Plane Wrecked. And so we're going to show you that movie in just a second here that sort of sets up these two cinematics where
So this is the sequence as we saw it in Uncharted Drake's Fortune.
yeah, this is Chapter 3 into Chapter 4.
Over here, I think. Yeah, this way. You always been this popular?
Well, I do seem to attract the scum of the earth. No offense.
None taken.
Do you have a good memory?
Yeah, why?
UK 2642. You got that?
Yeah, what is it?
It's Kriegsmarine coordinates. I think I know where the Spanish took El Dorado.
El Dorado?
The problem is, so that the bastards killed Sully. Damn it! If the Spanish found the treasure, they had to move it there, to that island. And Drake followed them.
Well, what are we waiting for? I'll get the story, and you get whatever it is you're after. Come on.
Hey, this isn't gonna be a vacation, you know.
I can take care of myself. Besides, you owe me one.
I suppose I do.
We're on the trail of the lost treasure of El Dorado, and it's brought us here to this tiny island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Let's get a closer look. I hope we're the first ones here.
Okay, so we use the magical crossfade there to get you between these two chapters. And so one of the things that we actually try to do with the Uncharted series is to stay in real time as much as possible. So we're staying with Drake when he goes from place to place, but sometimes that's impossible. And
Yeah,
the
so
magical crossfade tool.
press the magical crossfade button.
Exactly.
That takes care of everything.
But in this case, we just felt like we had a missed opportunity here that we could show off how we sort of design. So, how do they get to the plane? What happened once they got there? They're both, deep inside the Amazon, somewhere in the heart of South America, and wherever they're going, there probably wouldn't be a full-fledged airport, right? It would be some kind of landing strip.
There's going to be some kind of landing strip.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So the plane's got to take off from somewhere, but it's not going to be, like the Bogota airport. So presumably Drake knows where this is because that's how he got in with Sullivan. Roman and Navarro would already probably know about this airstrip if it is the only one in the area, and they might even be waiting for Drake and Elena once they get there. So there's an opportunity for us to interject some gameplay in between these two moments. So we decided we'd like to create a new chapter that shows the previously unseen part of the adventure. So we're going to work up a new chapter here for Uncharted Drake's Fortune. We're calling it Chapter 3, Strip Search.
I'm not sure that's such a great name for a chapter. I don't know if that would get past everyone.
So Richard intends to do our chapter names. He's come up with a lot of them for both games.
Like everything at Naughty Dog, it's a big collaborative process, and of course Amy Hennig and Josh Scher, who are two of the main writers for Uncharted 2, along with Neil Druckmann, my co-lead game designer, they always give me loads of good ideas and kind of vet the list. But there are always a few that we would love to have in the game, but that don't get through the net. One of them being this. Wouldn't that have been fantastic? It might have deflated some of the dramatic tension, admittedly, halfway through Jacob's epic train level. But there you go.
Didn't get through Mark.
We'll blame it on somebody else. But anyway, so we've got this good top-level design goal to create a new chapter for Uncharted Drake's Fortune, and so now we want to break the design goal down a little bit. The gameplay goal, I think, is very simple. We just want to use the core mechanics to get Drake and Elena from the Jeep to the airplane. And we've, as part of our process, by the end of pre-production, we've created this thing that we call the game macro, which is basically a spreadsheet, and it's a list of the locations in the game, and it breaks down all of the major story beats as well in the game, in each location, and it describes the play mechanics that are used in each part of the game, and whether they're core mechanics or special mechanics. So we know by looking at this document what mechanics we're focusing on by this point in the game.
Where the training takes place, what you've already learned, what kind of weapons you'll have, what kind of enemies are there, all that stuff's going to be in that document.
And it's great because the macro is kind of light on detail. It's kind of a skeleton structure, so it gives us the ability to be quite nimble when we inevitably need to change stuff around. So we took a look at the document and we saw that at this point in the game we're mainly focusing on traversal, kind of, and exploring and platforming, and on gunplay, of course, and we're starting to introduce some of the kind of light stealth elements that were in the first Uncharted. So as far as the storytelling goal goes, Gabriel Roman, of course, has had some good screen time recently in the previous cutscene, or a couple of cutscenes ago, where he cold-heartedly gunned down Nate Drake's friend Sullivan. So his character is pretty firmly established in the realm of villainy, I would say. Whereas Navarro, kind of Gabriel's henchman, on the other hand, is relatively undefined as a character at this point. And considering that he's going to play an important role towards the end of the game, we can use this sequence of play as an opportunity to establish his character a little bit better, especially right before Eddie Raja, everybody's favourite pirate that nobody messes with, comes in and kind of complicates the hierarchy of villainy. So these gameplay and story goals give us a pretty clear idea of what we need to have in this level, and in what kind of order. Looking back, we've just come from a big, long, intense combat sequence as Elena and Drake escape through the temple where Drake and Sully had found the remains of El Dorado. We know that we're going to want another combat sequence at the airstrip, so we need to have some downtime first, just to let the player chill out a bit and have a little bit of breathing room. So that means some stealth and some traversal. And then the downtime would be a perfect place to develop Navarro's character through in-game cutscenes and overheard dialogue situated in the world. I mean, in-game is how we mainly like to develop the narrative of the game as much as we can. And we really want to establish Navarro as the leader of the pirates at this point. And then we'll reach the airstrip and we'll fight Navarro and the pirates and further cement him as a major nemesis for Drake. And this sequence needs to be relatively short, since we've already established the next top-level story goal in the scene that we just showed you guys, with Drake asking Elena to remember the Kriegsmarine map coordinates and showing her the map that he got from the submarine of the island where they're going to next. And we don't want the player to kind of lose sight of that goal. We don't want them to forget about it. So we figure that this sequence of play should be fairly short, maybe about 10 to 20 minutes.
That's about all you can sustain a goal like that for without people forgetting what they're supposed to be doing.
And get distracted by the situation that they're in.
So in general, we don't do much design documentation. In fact, we have almost none at all. Usually it's a short write-up, and that's about it, if that at all. Some designers actually go straight into working in block mesh to get their ideas down. Some of us, will write down a sort of a pitch that we can go out there and say, like, here's what I want to do with this level. But it's almost always, we found better to just go in and start actually trying to do something. And when we're designing levels, pretty much everybody shows reference. We'll get a bunch of stuff together that we want this level to look like, the feeling, the pace of it.
And gathering photo reference, actually. That's when, like, Google image search is our best friend at the beginning of the process.
Yeah, I mean, basically we find reams of whatever kind of reference we can possibly get on the place and the location, and more the feeling also of what we want it to be like. It may not be the same place, but we're like, oh, we want this place to feel like this and have a real sense of whatever that thing is. So we go through, Google images and pictures and research and all that kind of stuff. And we basically learned, like I said before, the best way to make video games is just do it.
Just to start building.
Just start it. Yeah. Don't sit around talking about it forever. Come up with an idea and then go, and then you'll see what's wrong with it in the process of actually building it.
That's when you make, we found anyway, like your biggest discoveries. It's good to have a certain amount of planning, but the place where you make the real discoveries, both about the game design and also about the production methodologies, the things that are working in your production process and art, is to just start building stuff.
And that's how, it's not just design. I mean, that's pretty much how everybody at the company works, hard and programming as well. If we decide on a feature that we want, we just try to make it and see where the problems are going to shake out. So to this end, Jacob's prepared a level for us in Maya. It's our 3D tool that we use, and then we also use a bunch of custom design tools to get stuff into the game. We're going to show off Maya today. And this is just a really simple block mesh level using simple geometry that sort of defines the shapes of what we think things are going to be like. What's going to make the right size to make a good level like this. He's going to take us through it, and just like we would if we're in the office, we're going to sort of go back and forth talking about the level, and then at certain points we're actually going to have you guys talk about this stuff with us as well and see what you guys think is interesting.
So it's kind of all of us in the room stacked up against Jacob. That's all right, okay.
It's cool.
Tear me apart.
So we're just going to jump in and start showing some stuff here in Maya and take you through the actual level 3.5 here.
Okay, so essentially, I started out with a chapter outline of what I wanted to happen in this chapter, and it's made of, first off, the Jeep cutscene, because we've got this magical crossfade that occurred that got us from they're on the Jeep, and they're going to somehow get off get out of the Amazon, and then they're in the plane going to the island. And I know that we need to start up the next sequence with them on a Jeep, so easy starting point. Okay, they're on a Jeep. And so they're going to get to the airstrip in the Jeep and see Navarro and his pirates, and they're going to see that they can't get to the plane. So now we're going to have a stealth traversal sequence where Drake is making his way to the plane, trying to avoid the pirates. Following that, we'll have combat on the airstrip where Drake is trying to defend at the location of the plane as Elena tries to get to him, and they both try to get on the plane and get out of there. And then finally, we're going to have an IGC in the plane. And IGC, of course, stands for, as I've mentioned many times, intergalactic combat. Because that's something that we really were missing in Uncharted 1 and 2, I think.
Most of it got cut, unfortunately.
Yeah. But, so actually, it's in-game cutscene. And that's something that we did a lot in Uncharted 2. We had really, really complicated in-game cutscenes that the player has full control over Drake, while Drake is experiencing these incredible, carefully scripted action hero type moments.
We had more than 500 of them, so our animators had their hands full.
And that's more than 5 times the number that we had in Uncharted 1. So it'd be nice to sort of look at a way that we could do an Uncharted 2 style IGC in Uncharted 1. And that's about it for our slideshow, so I'm going to head over to Maya, and I'll leave us on Skelzor on holiday, so we can come back here.
Skelzor, Mom.
So that's a pretty good beginning to your pitch, Jacob. I mean, you kind of mirrored back to us there the top-level design goals, so, and you added some cool ideas as well, with like the IGC at the end.
Okay, so here's a level in Maya. This represents about a solid day's worth of work, and we don't want to spend all that much time on the block mesh because, as you'll see, there will be lots of changes. I just quickly grabbed whatever assets we had around. We happened to have the plane lying around. We had a Jeep from another level, and let's just get right into it. So first off, we've got the Jeep. Elena is in the passenger seat, as she was in the cutscene. Drake would be in the driver's seat, and they have arrived at this cliff overlooking the airstrip. Here's the hangar right over here, and they see the plane. And there's Navarro and his various pirates all milling about, and they have discovered the plane. And I'm thinking that we start the cutscene with Navarro actually ordering his pirates to sort of drag it back into the hangar. So I'm not sure that it makes it all the way into the hangar during the cutscene. Might be cool if it's starting to be dragged back, and then once we return to gameplay, we see it drag the rest of the way, make a connection between cutscene and gameplay.
And what are you thinking there, Jacob? Would that be better as a pre-rendered cutscene on the tail of the first half of what we just saw, or would that be better as an actual IGC?
Well, I think we're looking at a pre-rendered cutscene certainly as the Jeep arrives and they get off and they're sort of overlooking the whole airstrip. And the way I'm figuring that the cutscene part goes is that they arrive overlooking the airstrip and they're like, crap, I mean, Navarro's got our plane, how are we going to do this? Drake's like, okay, this isn't going to work the way we're planning, so Elena, you wait here in the Jeep. There's this sort of like long hill going down to the airstrip over here, and he'll be like, okay, I'm going to go down there and try to get the plane out of the hangar. Here we've got the plane gone back into the hangar, and then when I give the signal, you drive down and join me. You'll make a distraction, and you'll be able to bolt through them with the Jeep, and then just meet me at the airplane, and we'll get out of here. And she's like, all right, but what's the signal? And he's like, I don't know. You'll know it when you see it.
And that's good because that gets us, so essentially what we get there is a moving target or a moving meanie for the player to know what they're supposed to be doing, to firmly establish their goals at the beginning or at the end of this cutscene.
And in case anyone doesn't know, weenie is a term from like theme park design. The Disney Imagineers and theme park designers use this term weenie. It's something like Space Mountain that kind of sticks up over the horizon, and it gives you a way to navigate, to orient yourself spatially to the park, gives you goals to move towards. And the paths that move towards weenies will often kind of curve around some obstruction, so you get lots of nice reveals as you move through the environment. So it's a term that we've come to use a lot.
The 50s were a more innocent time. I couldn't stop smiling when I came to the company and heard that term used.
So what Jacob's done really nicely here is giving the player something that they see that's moving right away, and so they instantly know, okay, that's what I have to go after. So they've got their top line goal, remember these Kriegsmarine coordinates in the island, but my short line goal is go find this plane.
Right, and I've got the hangar here, which is a very prominent piece of the geometry, and the path that we're going to be going down momentarily curves towards the hangar so that the player in the course of gameplay is looking at their goal the entire time, which I also think is a really important thing. You don't want to show the player their goal and then take them off in a completely other direction and, you know, just remind them occasionally, hey, you were going towards that thing. It's better if they see it and they're going towards it the entire time, which is, again, the way the Disney parks work, and I have a season pass because of that. All right, so Drake jumps down over here, having left a slightly worried and exasperated Elena behind in the Jeep waiting for the signal.
That's a gate, yes?
Yes, that is a gate. So what I would imagine is that the pre-rendered cutscene ends with Drake jumping down this cliff and sort of disappearing behind it over here, sort of perspective-wise. And then we start in gameplay with Drake on this cliff over here. Perhaps we even have a camera that shows you something like this so that you can see where Elena and the Jeep still are, and Drake shows up over here. And then gameplay begins from vaguely around this perspective.
And we talk a lot about gates and valves in terms of level layout, which are places in the level that you can only pass through in one direction or in different directions at different times, depending on what you've done.
It's important for us to get a sense of what we call wide linear, so we want the player to feel like they have a lot of options, but in reality they really don't. We've only given them a limited number of options, they just feel like they have many, many more than they actually do.
We want everyone's experience to be distinct, but within the constraints of the experience that we've designed. So here's Drake having progressed a little bit down the path. A lot of this traversal here is sort of placeholder. It's more the idea that there will be jumps and there will be some climbing. But I'd probably tweak that and work it up in more complex ways to figure out, okay, well, what combinations of traversal have we done in the past? Well, okay, we've swung on pipes, we've done hand over hand from handhold to handhold. Maybe we've swung on a rope along the wall, and I'd probably find more interesting combinations that build on what we've done. So perhaps instead of this being a jump right here, I might do something like climb up the wall, jump sideways to a vine hanging off, swing back and forth until you can jump farther off, you know, that sort of thing. But it's more of, we're just going for the experiential flow here, not the nitty-gritty of it.
So you're saying, Jacob, you put some of that stuff in here along the sequence?
Yeah, I'd probably do this along this initial,
gotcha.
this initial area prior to the first enemy moment here.
And the enemies do not know you're here yet, right?
That is correct. So this is a stealth sequence, and like we were sort of alluding to before, Uncharted 1 actually had stealth elements. You could do like the sneak up behind someone and do the neck crack and stuff like that, but it was never trained, so people didn't tend to do it. And I think that here, early on in the game, is actually a good point to train it. There was like one or two opportunities in the temple that we just came out of, but a little refresher right here would be good. So what I'm thinking is that we have a bit of a cliff face over here that we can, you know, nest a pirate inside, and as the player is walking down this cliff path, we can have the pirate come out and drop down as if he's sort of been exploring the jungle, looking for any possible routes that Drake could have come from. And then he starts walking down the path this way with his back to Drake. And at that point, we can do a little pop-up message that explains to the player how to do stealth. You know, get close behind the guy, press square, that sort of deal. And the reason why they have to do stealth here is that we would have all of these pirates over here on the airstrip, plus we'd probably have a few of them milling about directly underneath Drake, sort of heightening the tension of the area. And that might also be another reason why I would add more traversal back here, more like actual climbing, because if you're climbing on a wall, I can do a scripted camera where I'd be like looking up over Drake as he's climbing on the wall. I could get a perspective more like this. That's a bit upside down, but you know, if I pulled back this wall here, I could get a better angle, and that way I could be looking directly down on some enemies, and the player would be aware even before this enemy drops down on the path in front of them, like that they're. So this is an example of an area where I'm doing it later. But you know, if Drake was shimmying along this edge over here, and I had a camera up there looking down, and these guys were talking underneath him, you'd get the feeling that, okay, I need to be careful because there's no cover along this path at all. There's nothing he can hide behind. So if he shoots off a single shot, it's going to be heard, it's going to be seen, and then everyone's going to pile on him.
I wonder if we want Elena to give you some kind of... So Elena can talk to you in your headset because you have a walkie-talkie.
That's true.
We probably want her to say something along the lines of, you know, don't fire, this is terrible dialogue, but don't fire a shot because of that, right? Just warn the player ahead of time so they don't learn by dying, because that's no fun. So.
Exactly, and by the way, speaking of dialogue, the way we generally do this is that we say like, okay, we need a line here to warn the player about this, and then we tell Amy about that, and in the next, Amy Hennig, our writer and creative director, and then in our next voice recording session, she has Nolan and Emily, who are Drake and Elena, sort of riff on possible ways that, you know, they could be talking to each other, so it sounds like witty and cool, not like designer dialogue.
And let's be fair, Amy and Josh and Neil are all great writers, so they help out with that too.
Yes, but still not designer dialogue.
Yes, still not designer dialogue.
And that stuff extends beyond the dialogue to the little details of the physical motions. We do motion capture for some of the in-game stuff and a lot of the cutscene stuff. And there was one little thing I only noticed actually last week when Elena like kind of bats Nate on the arm with the map when they're talking together at the end. That's not something that was scripted. That's something that the actors kind of just brought to life on the stage in the moment. So it's really important to us to include those guys. They bring so much to it.
We do table reads just like you would with a movie or a TV show. And we really involve the actors very, very early in the process, so they really get buy-off on what the characters are doing.
Okay.
All right, continuing.
Yes, moving along. Okay, so we have our little bit of stealth training here. The player is told how to sneak up behind someone. Elena in the headset goes ahead and tells you precisely why you need to do that. And then we continue along this path here. And we get to that point where I was showing earlier, where maybe I'd want to do two of these, but we would force the player into a traversal moment here.
Actually, Jacob, before you describe that, can I ask you about something? Looking at the map in a kind of top-down way with zoom back out, it looks to me like they're doing something kind of interesting and tricky with the narrowing of the path there. Are you doing some kind of forced perspective trick?
I am indeed. That's one of those things I like to do with my layouts. Is that I actually wish I brought an example of this, but I realized early on in level design that when you have a long flat plane, you have absolutely no idea of how long it is. It's just disappearing into the distance. It gets all foreshortened, all the perspective, like over here, you see where all the lines get smooshed together. You have no idea how long that blue swatch is. If I continued it out farther and farther and farther, it would just get more and more smooshed to the horizon, and you have no idea if it's like 40 feet or 40 miles. So one thing that's really helpful in level design is to curve your paths. So that the player has a really good idea of how far they have to go. And you can see that from player perspective over here, there are a few things that are going on. Number one, the path is curved downwards to the right along this axis, so that you never have a point where you are looking straight along it. You always have a bit of a tilt to the right so that you can see more of the surface of it. Number two is that the width of the path is narrowing as it goes down here. So it's actually making the narrowing of the lines from perspective get even more forced, make it look like it's even farther from you, but it's actually substantially closer. I'm doing the opposite of having the lines compress on that flat surface that I was showing you before. I'm making it appear farther, but you're going to traverse it just as fast as you would if it was flat. So it makes the player feel like they're on a longer journey when they cover it really quickly.
Yeah, we build less art for the same feeling, so it's a huge production saving as well as a cool design technique.
And of course, as I was mentioning earlier, the path is curving directly towards the player's goal. So as they go along here, they're facing the pirates in the distance, right? If I make the pirates my focus here and then look along the path, you can see that just by virtue of walking down this path, they're seeing where they need to go, they're seeing the narrative beats that I want them to see, and as they round this corner, they're revealing the hangar again. And rather than having to do like a camera fly-through, camera fly-throughs tend to be really lame. They pull the player out of the experience, and designers like camera fly-throughs because they're like, look at this thing I put over here. Now look at this one over here.
I should know I've created plenty of those in my design career.
I think we all do.
Sometimes there's no choice. But
Yeah, every young designer and even experienced ones who are put in a difficult place put camera fly-throughs in. But the problem is that you may know what you're looking at, but as far as the player is concerned, they just saw thing, other thing. What was the first thing I saw? So it's much better if you make your level design direct the player towards what you want them to see, and they just see it during the course of normal gameplay. That's what we try to do throughout Uncharted, is always make sure that the weenie is at the end of a path, or lit up a certain way, or in some way the thing that the player is the most likely to focus on.
And so do you think that the fact that it's like an inorganic structure, a man-made structure in the middle of this lush jungle, that will kind of help it pop from the background?
Absolutely, yeah. We often find that we collaborate very closely with the environment artists to make sure that it really does pop. Like, perhaps silver corrugated metal wouldn't really work all that well for this hangar, even though that would be pretty realistic. Maybe we want it like bright red with yellow stripes.
painted, right?
You know, just
fading out.
make sure that it really shows off that it's the most important piece of this environment. And then again, make everything face towards it.
So I didn't want to derail you, Jacob. I think you're up to where the path gets super narrow. That's where Drake has to drop down into a forced, braced edging. So
Right.
he's kind of hanging from that
Exactly.
edge. Looking down at the pirates below, is that right?
Exactly. So we would have a situation where the path gets too narrow for Drake, and he's then forced into a position where he has to edge along it. And the reason I'm doing this is that, number one, when I have the player in a situation where he's constrained to a linear path rather than walking around in full control of Drake in normal gameplay, then it's easy to justify a scripted camera that only looks from one direction, and that way I can look down on these characters, and also Drake moves more slowly when he's edging. And we could even do things like...
Well, let's spice it up. So let's say he's not just edging. Let's say the rock face falls away a little bit, or there's some kind of spice to the actual edging, right? 'Cause
Exactly.
edging for a long period of time, we know from playtesting and doing it ourselves, isn't fun.
It's really boring.
So-
Plus, if we put this would be another IGC moment, right? An IGC where the thing that he's climbing on breaks. We could add more tension to that. That's really cool. Like so,
Yeah.
and we can also arbitrarily extend the length of time that he's over these pirates by extending the length of the IGC. So we can have these two pirates directly below him. And first reason I want to do this is not just for tension, but also because one of our primary goals here is to establish Navarro's character. And so I want his pirates talking about their leader. I want them talking about what sort of a hard ass he is. You know, how you don't mess with Navarro, even though you don't mess with Lady Roger.
Or Navarro.
Yeah. But you know, I want to take time for them to be talking to each other here, and at the same time, adding in the IGC will increase the tension.
Yeah,
So
it keeps
breaks-
tension up.
Yeah. We can have it like break under his hands, and he'll be like hanging down by one hand and.
And you can do the thing where the rock falls and the guys have just turned to walk away so they don't hear it or whatever, and lands behind them. And, okay. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, all right. So moving on, we'll come around this corner.
Right.
And I think it looks like, and I'm not sure, I know it may be slightly narrow, we'll have to look at it, but
Oh yeah.
we may have to widen this path here because...
Yeah, how wide do you think that is there, Jacob? The path after the edging?
Let us see.
Oh yeah, that's pretty darn narrow. We usually, in Uncharted, try not to make a path ever get narrower than about 2 meters, and Drake is about 2 meters tall.
Just slightly swirly, so we can widen it out.
It starts to feel a little bit tight, and it's easier to kind of fall off the edge. It's a little bit uncomfortable. You probably know that in a third-person character action game, everything in the world tends to be about 60% bigger than it is in real life, especially stuff like doorways and corridors and things like that. There's just something to do with the camera position in the world. If you have things modeled to kind of real-world scale relative to the player character, the world looks kind of small and dinky. So we generally scale everything up. So yeah, it'd be great if... oh, excellent, you already did it. That's awesome.
That's why Power Mesh is awesome, because you don't have to worry about it, right? You just do it.
That was nearly free. If that was final art, that would be a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay, so we come around this corner.
Right, so as we come around the corner, we've now reminded the player of their goal, because by virtue of coming around the corner, they saw the pirates again, they saw the hangar, and now they come to this dead end over here on the side of this cliff. And, well, there's nothing they can do, really, except that, oh, hey, there's this roof of this building, looks like a control tower of sorts next to the hangar, and they can jump to that, and again, by virtue of just it being the only thing and close enough, we know that they're probably going to do it.
Okay, so right here, let's stop for a second, and we're going to open it up to you guys. So Drake's just come off this thing. He can't get back. He's on this control tower. We're going to say Navarro's inside of it. What is the kind of thing that you think would be cool as a player to do here? What would keep you interested in the game?
And if anyone wants to come up to the microphone that we have right
there are
here,
no bad
that'd be
ideas.
awesome.
This is just brainstorming.
That's actually something that we say a lot. I think that's a great thing to say to this room. When we're brainstorming, there are some like rules of brainstorming written down, and anyone who wants to, come on up. Anyone who's got any ideas for everything up to this point. Yeah, in a brainstorm, we try not to get into like critiquing the ideas or kind of discussing the ideas. The idea in a brainstorm is to go for quantity over quality, and so we just spew out as much stuff as we can, and we definitely don't get into it. There are no bad ideas in a brainstorm. So here comes our first not bad idea.
Okay, so Drake jumps or whatever, doesn't land well, ends up helpless for a moment. Navarro
hanging
saves
from 2 fingers.
Hanging from 2 fingers.
Sounds good.
Navarro detects him and saves him, and they have a moment together.
Interesting.
And then, of course, Drake has to escape or whatever.
So he gets caught, is your idea, essentially, right?
Basically.
Okay.
In a kind of friendly, non-shoot you to death kind of way.
Non-immediate shooting.
Yeah, right, with an eye to later shootage. That sounds pretty interesting.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank you very much. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, at this point, you're probably you're far enough away, and you've been working through the level, through the platforming enough that Elaine is probably getting a little antsy based on her character. So now she's going to jump in and create a diversion, not wait for the signal. That'll move Navarro out and give Drake a chance to get into the tower, perhaps learn some information, and you get some time on your own while Elaine is being heroic for a little bit.
Excellent. I think that's a really great idea.
That's a good idea.
We've kind of been neglecting her back there.
She never likes to sort of sit back. She wants to prove herself.
She's a very kind of active character. Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome
Good idea.
idea.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
This could be an opportunity to maybe eavesdrop on a conversation that's humorous with Navarro.
So like a human beat? We talk about story beats. That's a good
It's good idea, lighten the tension a little bit, keep you still interested. Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Hey, I was thinking, why not have it where when he jumps on there, you have a window either below or above him, where Drake can see that he's there and everything, and there's a possibility that Navarro's can see him. So there's that little bit of tension right there, and you have him either hanging and have like a quick time event. So
Okay.
it forces the player to quick react before Navarro sees it.
So you get busted if you don't hit the QTE. Okay, so the idea is basically there's a window, you're hanging below it or above it, depending on how you land, and Navarro, you have to press the buttons for Navarro not to discover you and bust you and essentially make you reload. It's a fail state.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. Thank
That's an
you.
interesting idea.
Everybody applaud right now for everybody.
basic idea was kind of they all beat me to it, to incorporate what they all said. If you flattened out the roof and had the window there, Drake could jump and hide, and then Elena could be like, what's taking so long? And since it's in his ear, he's going to jump and be like, what are you doing? In normal character banter.
And that would be a really nice way of reinforcing, because we're always trying to ground the reality, what we call ground the reality, reinforce the reality of the world, and you know, with a slightly abstract game mechanic like the microphone in the ear, if that had some kind of visible impact on the world, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, we've never done that. So.
We haven't, no, thanks for the idea.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll put you in the credits.
Thank you.
I like the idea of Nathan, while he's climbing over to where the part of the roof that you climb over to, he peeks into the control tower and sees that nobody's in there, thinking maybe I can go in there and do something that I need to do. But by the time you clamber over to the roof and you start climbing up to that room in the control tower, Navarro pops up, forcing Nathan either to, evade capture or attention, or Navarro does see him forcing Nathan to clamber further down onto the hangar, maybe, instigating that action scene.
Forcing the player along quicker.
Right.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Great.
I don't know, is it?
Surprise.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
That's perfect timing for me. Kind of reiterating and totally not stealing the idea of the person who suggested the humorous beat. I was thinking that would be, since you'd had a little bit of tension in the level, you've already gone through some stuff, you can have a minor, I don't even know that it would rise to the level of an IGC, but just a pause where you could really accomplish the sub-goal of doing more introduction of Navarro by having an overheard event, whether humorous or even something suggesting that a direction that Drake would go next. Like, we can't get that stupid back door on the hangar closed. That's terrible, obviously.
I get the idea. So the idea is that Navarro sort of gives you the next beat of what you need to do.
It lets you just get a little bit more face time with Navarro.
Sure.
So
yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, especially since we're trying to establish Navarro's being
exactly. Yeah.
presentable characters. Thank you.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Thanks. We've only got 20 minutes.
Okay. We're gonna have to cut it off just so we can keep moving. Sorry, guys.
But remember what order you're in, guys, because we'll do another quick round of this at the end.
Yeah.
This is excellent.
Sorry,
Okay,
guys.
so I think the quickest ones to incorporate here would be the one that was overhearing Navarro speaking to someone, and also like the Navarro looking out the window sort of thing.
Yeah.
We tend not to do quick time events, but we can still play that same event. We can still play that same beat without a failable QTE.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's say that. Let's say that we've got this ledge around the edge here, and we've got a window above up into the control tower, and Navarro is up here with a couple pirates. So Drake will be forced into a position where he has to climb up and do a wall hug type of shimmy along this edge, because there's some sort of radio tower or something here, so that he can't be hanging off the edge, because that's blocking him. So he has to get up on the edge and squeeze through this little crack. And that's a good sort of thing to do, because that will slow the player down. That's probably one of our slowest movements. So at least beginning this moment, the player will be going really slowly behind this radio tower.
And has Navarro started speaking with the other pirates?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So as you sort of climb up here, Navarro's speaking, and we can do a couple different things. We can do like initially a camera more like up above here, maybe a farther out camera, so that the player can see both Drake edging down below and Navarro up here with his pirates. Or we can, and maybe even in the middle of it, maybe we start up here, and then the camera sort of swings down this way, so that as the player reaches this area over here, Navarro sort of puts his hands on the edge of this railing right here and leans over and looks out and like, damn it, where's Drake? And Drake is like,
That's awesome. That's a classic adventure trope. So that's that's something that fits completely in the genre. We should totally do that. And we actually don't do that very often. So
right, but we love to do it whenever we can. Whenever we can like leverage the techniques of cinema and cinematography in an interactive context. That's some of the real magic we think for our games.
Yeah. So great. Cool.
That's also a little humorous beat there. Everyone chuckles. So the player shimmies all the way around the edge of this building and then climbs up. And just as they make it up to here, Navarro leaves through this door in the back, and all that's left are two pirates looking towards the door where he left. So we've got reinforcement of the stealth mechanic here. They can sneak up behind someone and neck crack them. Probably the other guy will hear at that point. Then they have a little brawl, square triangle, square moment, and then the area is now empty of enemies, and Drake is capable of progressing through the control tower.
So are we saying the door's locked? Is that what we're saying?
I'd say that the door where Navarro left is locked, and Drake's only option is to leave through the other side of the control tower.
I feel like we may have to take the guns away from those guys so that they can't fire at you, right? If you blow the stuff.
Actually take the guns away from the guys for sure, and also let's say that Drake dropped his gun back over here.
Right. Yes.
Let's say that when we did that IGC where the guys were edging along, Drake, in order to grab when the thing broke that he was holding onto, he lost his pistol.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
So he's had to do this entire thing unarmed anyway.
Yeah.
So then we've got Drake coming out the backside of this building over here, and maybe we could have a little moment where he looks over the edge, and I don't know, I feel like I want him to get down onto the roof of this hangar here, but of course the problem with that is that how do we make sure that he doesn't jump off the front of the hangar?
Well, the shape is kind of nasty.
Yeah, it would be tough for our traversal systems to, something that's getting steeper and steeper as you move along it, that would start to give us real problems.
And I think what we're going to have to do, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I think what we're going to have to do to force you is you're going to have to fall off this somehow and smash through the roof.
How about, we talk about the expectation gap. There's this thing from the screenwriting guru Robert McKee, and he talks a lot about the gap in storytelling, where you set up an expectation for the audience and then pay it off in a way that is similar to what they expected, but not exactly the same. And there's something very engaging about that for audiences. And we think that we can do it interactively as well. So if you are expecting to drop down onto the roof of the hangar and then traverse into that hole there, what if we close the expectation gap by making you just burst through the roof of the hangar?
No.
Rusty and the wood's rotten and just drop you straight down inside the hangar.
So let's be honest, Drake has to get hurt in as many sequences as possible.
So he vaults over the railing is all rusty, it creaks under his weight, he goes no, it snaps off, he falls through the roof of the hangar right about here, and now he's in the hangar.
So he lands in a pile of stuff.
A pile of rags.
Yeah.
Kind of next to the plane? Okay, because the plane's been dragged back in.
So the plane's already in here, so
yes,
that's
exactly.
the ending position for where Navarro left it.
Right, so he conveniently falls right next to the plane into a pile of dirty rags so that no one hears him. And then as he sort of shakes the oily rags and Navarro's used underwear off his head, we've got a bunch of pirates that he sort of sees at the other end of the hangar who are milling about our friendly neighborhood explosive barrels from Uncharted 1. Yellow explosive barrels. And this isn't just a cheap gag that I want to pull here. I want to actually remind the player that blowing up explosive barrels can cause environmental damage, because I'm going to use that. I want to basically give them a moment here where they have as much time as they want to shoot those barrels, and then I'm going to make them do it under a timed situation, under duress later on.
So I think we may have to, depending, when you get the angle of your reticle close enough to those things, make it auto hit. So if you're even close to shooting at them,
yeah,
right,
do a
to make sure they blow up.
Yeah.
So we can do these things called frustrum checks, see where Drake's actually, or where the player's actually looking, and we do this all the time. So what that means is we can guarantee that if you're aiming anywhere near those barrels and firing your weapon, you're actually going to hit them and blow them up, so that the player understands, okay, barrels blow up, environmental damage. Yay. There's a question, real quick?
That's a very good question.
That's a good point. So what we'll have to do is have the last guy up there have a gun.
Oh, yeah. So whatever.
We'll have to take a gun off the last pirate he melees.
Whatever the last pirate is. Oh.
You said he landed in oily rags. Does he have a lighter?
No. In Uncharted 1, and actually in Uncharted 2, we don't have a fire mechanic at all. So it's something that we would not be able to play with, but fire is awesome.
They could also be like, lightens up every situation, every party. We could also put around kids. Put a gun collectible down here as well.
Absolutely, yeah. We probably have an infinitely respawning gun down here, that sort of thing, just to make sure that there's no possibility that the player is like, I'm screwed, I have no ammo.
Yeah. Okay, so you blow these barrels up.
All right, blow the barrels up, and
fires go flying.
Exactly. Like what we'll say is that they actually closed the hangar doors over here, so those were shut before, and then as you shoot these barrels, everything blows up. All these pirates, boom, ragdolls everywhere.
And the doors blow off the hinges?
Doors blow off the hinges, fall down. Anything stacked against the walls of the hangar, that gets all scattered around, conveniently creating cover for the upcoming battle. Yay!
Nice work, sir.
Yes.
So now, of course, everyone just heard that, so all these pirates out in the yard start firing at Drake, and pretty much the only cover that you have is this cover now created by the explosion. So the player is extremely likely to be somewhere near this opening, firing out towards the enemies that are over here. We'll make sure that they're also sort of towards the right side of the screen. Maybe we'll have one or two enemies over there, but they'll be like light guys that die within only a few hits. We'll have the primary enemies over here, because right over here is the hill that Elaine was waiting on. So she's going to drive down the hill in that Jeep.
So she hears the explosion.
She hears the explosion.
Takes that
obviously
the signal.
It's Drake. He blew something up. That must be the thing to do. So she drives down, smashes through this chain link fence over here, bowls over a whole bunch of pirates because Elena's kick-ass and that's what she does.
So we'll have to make sure the fence collapses in a way you can't get out through it, right?
Yeah, if it's like a chain link fence, it could like fold down and then spring back up even. Like hurricane fence? You guys have that over here?
Those magic fences we have in America?
Yeah. It could also be a reasonably soft gate, you know, that we just have a magic bullet that if you're just like mulling around too long with no cover.
I mean, this is a pretty reasonable scenario where it's unlikely.
I mean, we'll have like probably sheds and things that enemies are coming out of. So really making sure that the player only stays inside this area at the front of the hangar.
Awesome. So Elena pulls up.
All right, so she pulls up, she screeches into the hangar and gets out of the Jeep, takes up a position next to Drake, shooting over the cover, and Drake's like, okay, right, let's get to the plane. So they start making their way back towards the plane, and at this point, the enemies will advance, so even if the player doesn't really want to go back towards the plane, they'll have to because the enemies will start rushing them, and the enemies will start staying in zones around the front of the hangar, so moving to the back of the hangar is the most likely way to avoid them and stay alive.
I mean, fail-safe, you can make Elena run back there and start screaming at you too.
Yeah, she can run back and say like, come on, let's go. Come on. Yeah. So she gets into the plane over here, opens it up. Actually, no, she's like next to it, and she's like, come on, Drake, and Drake is like, and so the player's still in control of Drake, but we just have some voice where Drake says, you know, no, you start it up, I'll hold them off. So the player's holding off the enemies, and Elena's like, I don't know how to fly a plane. He's like, I'll walk you through it. So over the course of the next 30 seconds or so, Drake will make it reasonably easy, you know, to take out these enemies without dying. Drake's picking off enemies at the front of the hangar, and Elena's like, there's a light, it's blinking, I don't, what do I do now? He's like, no, don't touch that one, don't touch the blinking one, touch the one that's not blinking. What, there are a lot of blinking ones, I don't know what I'm doing. So, you know, just have them bantering back and forth, and, you know, have like the plane belch some fumes and stuff. He's like, wrong one, you know, that sort of thing. And then eventually, the plane starts taxiing down the front of the hangar, starts moving forward, and Elena's like, I think we're ready to go, Drake, come on. So he, as the player, we walk towards this, and the player will like probably get triangle prompt, they'll IGC into the plane.
Do you think we could even do it in the core mechanics, just have the open door of the plane, and it's up to the player to understand what's happening and just to climb in?
That's true. We could probably
triangle it just so we get the special animation.
That would be the fallback, yeah. It would be even more more awesome if we can do it in form and purpose.
Yeah, we could do X, yeah. So,
Yeah, we could do X.
So he climbs on, that's awesome.
But as soon as you climb into the plane, now you're in sort of a rail shooter thing. We haven't taken away player control. You're just sort of in the cockpit of, no, actually no, you're hanging outside the door of the plane. And Drake has like one hand over here, you see like the pistol over here, players controlling the pistol.
In a forced aiming mode?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so the players shooting at the pirates to clear their way, and then as the plane comes out of the hangar and is starting to taxi down the runway, Navarro pulls up in a Jeep right in the middle of the airstrip, blocking the way of the plane. And he's got like, actually maybe not a Jeep, maybe a bigger truck with an emplaced turret on the side of it. The fail state would be that if you taxi down the runway for too long with Navarro tearing up your plane, the plane blows up, fail state, you die. But if you look over to the side, you'll notice that there are a whole bunch of explosive barrels of the same type that you just blew up before, and they're next to some like power lines or something with these big power line
like
poles.
Utility pole.
Yeah, exactly, utility poles. And so you shoot those, and they blow up, and the utility pole falls right down onto Navarro's truck. And Navarro rolls out of the way just in time. Curses! Foil again! Yeah. And so then what we do is Drake leans over Elena's shoulder, sort of nudges her out of the way, grabs the controls, and we give player left stick control over the plane, drive around the flaming wreckage of the truck, taxi down the runway all the way to the end, and we fly off the edge and get airborne.
Awesome. The only thing I would say is at the very end, can we like drop off a cliff and then go over?
Sure.
With a magnificent waterfall.
It's actually the continuation of the waterfall that the U-boat was on.
Yeah. There you go. And that is chapter 3.5, Strip Search. Sorry, so 2 minutes?
Well, yeah, maybe we could talk about.
Yeah, so let's just real quick, we were going to talk a little bit about how sometimes we have to use these spaces in multiplayer and what would we do to change it. But if people have other questions for us, we'd be happy to.
Those four guys who are up here want to come back up, please feel free. Any more design ideas or any more questions for us? And we've got like 2 minutes.
Yes, shout out to NeoGaf for this image that Woolen did. This is probably the greatest design ever. And someday we will go with it. He actually put that up the day we announced we were coming out with multiplayer. So
it's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Okay, one thing I noticed is that you do not allow for multiple paths to get to somewhere. So, like,
it's a good point.
Getting into that hangar, why don't you do that in your design work? Is there a reason, or?
Well, it's a good question. We try to do that in our design work. Uncharted 2 is actually more linear than Uncharted 1 was in that sense. There are more sections in Uncharted 1.
There are places in the fort where you can often, there are multiple paths to somewhere. It's something that, we kind of become more aware of in our post-mortem process for Uncharted 2. So.
It's a hard question because we do want, they're cutting us off, so this is the last question, sorry guys. Basically, the way it works is we really want to have a linear experience that we're telling a very specific story for, but we want the player to feel like they have more options. So ultimately, it comes down to a matter of time often. We just don't have the time to iterate to make multiple paths. Not let the player get lost.
We're very optimistic. We never want to rest on our laurels. We're always pushing ourselves to go further with our design and our production methodologies, and we do hope that we can, by finding a good balance between just starting to work in block mesh and working in paper maps, designing the levels on paper like we used to, that we can make some advances in this.
It's just like there are any number of things going against us. Like every time we want to make one path awesome, that means we have to make every path equally awesome as all the others. You could potentially triple your production work. And you can also make it more confusing because by having multiple paths that potentially all meet up at a point, you could have a thing where...
oh, God, let's go to that slide right there.
You could potentially have a situation where you've got one point where the player starts, and then 3 possible paths, and the point where they all meet up again, you could have a situation where the player actually takes path number 3 and sees path number 1 and takes it back the other way, and they're like, what? I just got where I started.
You can end up in this very weird circular thing, but it is a goal, in the future, to be much better about line linear, for sure.
You can tell we've been thinking that.
Yeah. We really appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we were so much fun. We'll be outside the door for just a minute if people have questions. And
don't forget to come visit our website, read our blog, follow us on Twitter. That would make me really, really happy.
Yeah. Increase our Twitter feed today, people.
Yeah, right, Arnie, some nice posts on our community forums. Come check them out. It's been really fantastic.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.